Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
There are certain days you don't expect to remember forever, but somehow they carve themselves into your bones. Mine was a Thursday. The air was electric with spring, that kind of crispness that makes your lungs ache in a good way. I had just stepped out of my office in Midtown Manhattan. The one with floor-to-ceiling glass windows and the buzz of 20 engineers developing tech we once only saw in sci-fi. Morrison Dynamics wasn't just mine, it was me. Built from caffeine-fueled all-nighters, investor rejections, and the stubborn conviction that I could rewrite my family's legacy of scarcity into something unshakable. I didn't believe in fairy tales, not until Ashton Langley walked into my life. It started with a charity gala hosted by the New York Institute of Innovation. I was being honored for our latest sustainable battery model. Half the crowd didn't know what we actually built, but they knew the market loved us. I remember the exact second I noticed him, standing by the bar, dressed in tailored navy, a tumbler of something amber swirling in his hand. He was all sharp lines, polished confidence, and eyes like winter rivers. "You're Darcy Morrison," he said, approaching without hesitation. "And you are?" I replied, doing my best to sound unimpressed. "Ashton Langley," he offered with a smile that made my throat dry. "I'm a financial analyst. I've been following your company for a while." He didn't lead with charm. He led with curiosity, asking about my tech, my goals, even my fears. For once, I wasn't the only one steering the conversation. He listened like I mattered beyond my company's valuation. One dinner turned into 3, then weekend walks in Central Park, then late-night rooftop talks where we swapped childhood scars like secret handshakes. I told him about growing up in Newark, how I used to take apart junk radios and tried to rebuild them just to feel in control of something. He told me about prep schools, pressure, and the loneliness of growing up with too much money and not enough love. We fit. Somehow, against all odds, we fit. 3 months in, he proposed during a snowstorm. We were on the balcony of a penthouse suite in Aspen. The world was silent, covered in white. He slipped the ring on my finger with trembling hands and whispered, "Marry me, Darcy. Let's build something better than what we came from." I said yes. God, I said it with my whole soul. It wasn't until later, too late in some ways, that I realized how much of Ashton's world was wrapped in quiet, suffocating power. How smiles could be masks. How traditions could be traps. At the time, all I saw was love, and the promise of a future worth fighting for. If only I'd known that perfect beginnings sometimes lead straight into war zones. The Langley estate looked more like a museum than a home. 3 stories of gray-stoned elegance tucked behind iron gates in Greenwich. A butler opened the double doors before I even knocked. I'd worn a navy sheath dress and minimal jewelry, hoping to balance confidence with humility. Ashton squeezed my hand as we stepped inside. "Just be yourself," he whispered. If only he'd warned me that myself would be a problem. We were barely through introductions when Gabriella Langley's gaze sliced across the room like a scalpel. Ashton's mother was pristine, pearls, sharp cheekbones, and eyes cold enough to chill glass. She kissed the air beside my cheek, lips barely touching. "So you're the self-made one," she said, as if the word itself tasted bitter. "You must be exhausted from all that striving." I smiled tightly. "I find hard work invigorating, actually." Dinner was served in a candlelit room that could seat 20. There were only 6 of us: Gabriella and her husband Winston, Ashton's brother Julian, and his wife Celeste Ashton, and me. The table was silent for the first few courses, tension wrapped around every clink of cutlery. "So Darcy," Gabriella said sweetly as the main course was cleared. "Tell us, do they offer etiquette courses at community colleges now, or is it just YouTube these days?" Ashton shifted in his seat, but said nothing. My throat tightened. "I suppose I'm self-taught in that department," I replied evenly. "Though I do admit YouTube is good for quick recipes and investor pitch tips." Celeste stifled a giggle. Gabriella didn't. Then came the moment that shattered the illusion. Langley Corporation recently entered a major contract with Morrison Dynamics, Julian mentioned casually. Gabriella's eyes narrowed. "I wasn't aware our firm did business with your company." I nodded. "Yes. We've supplied the neural interface modules for your new automation line. Signed 6 months ago." Her face hardened. "So you wormed your way into our family and our business." How clever. I opened my mouth, stunned, but the moment twisted fast. She reached for the decanter and with no warning, flung a stream of whiskey straight into my face. Gasps, frozen silence. Ashton, I whispered, blinking tears and scotch from my eyes. Are you going to say something? He sighed, rubbing his temple. It's a tradition, Darcy. My mother, she tests newcomers. Don't take it personally. I stared at him, my soaked dress clinging to my skin, my pride bleeding out between crystal glasses and porcelain plates. Gabriella leaned forward, voice ice cold. If you want to marry into this family, we expect a dowry of $270,000. That's the standard. Dowry? I repeated, stunned. A token of seriousness, she replied. It separates women who want love from those who want leverage. Ashton didn't argue, didn't flinch, just looked at me like he was asking me to understand. In that moment, I understood everything. This wasn't dinner, it was an ambush. The morning after that cursed dinner, I walked into my office and immediately sensed it, an invisible film of unease clinging to every wall. Jenna was waiting with lips pressed into a tight line, clutching a tablet like it might shield her from bad news. Langley Corp is rejecting our Phase 2 shipment, she said without preamble. They claim inconsistent compliance. They've also demanded an internal audit, full scale. I stared at her. We've passed every inspection. Twice. She nodded. I know. By noon, the dominoes kept falling. 2 private clients postponed their orders. A defense liaison we'd worked with for years suddenly stopped returning calls. I found Sam, my CTO, pacing in the lab. Darcy, he said, eyes narrowed. I just got word from a contact at Skyton Aerospace. They've heard rumors, serious ones, that we use unlicensed parts, that our CEO falsified performance reports. My jaw clenched. Gabriella, he exhaled. You think she's doing this? She's orchestrating it. That night I met Ashton in his downtown apartment, needing answers, or at least loyalty. She's trying to kill my company, Ashton. Your mother is calling clients, planting lies. She's turning your family's influence into a weapon. Ashton didn't meet my gaze. She's just cautious. I laughed, bitter and sharp. That's not caution. That's sabotage. He moved closer, reaching for my hand. Look, just pay the dowry, Darcy. That's all she wants. Then she'll stop. I recoiled like he'd slapped me. So I buy peace now, with a check? That's your idea of love. It's tradition, he said softly. You're blowing this out of proportion. My heart sank deeper than I thought it could. I whispered, you want me to submit. He didn't deny it. Later, back at the office, Jenna forwarded an internal email. Subject line, confidential concern. In it, Gabriella questioned my moral integrity to one of our largest investors, implying insider trading and unethical hiring. I closed my laptop slowly. So this was war. And Gabriella Langley had just made the gravest mistake of her life, thinking I'd kneel. The invitation came wrapped in gold-trimmed cardstock, sealed with the Langley crest like a royal decree. Family dinner. Mandatory attendance, it read. I almost laughed, but I went. I wore a red dress, bold, sharp, deliberate. Gabriella greeted me with a cold kiss and a smile tight as piano wire. The dining room sparkled, every plate and person carefully positioned for performance. Midway through the lamb course, she stood, glass in hand. We've reached a decision, she declared, voice syrupy sweet. If Darcy wishes to join this family properly, the dowry must be paid in full by month's end. Otherwise, the engagement will be terminated. Gasps fluttered across the table. All eyes turned to me. I rose slowly. And for that generous payment, what exactly am I buying? Gabriella's eyes gleamed. Legacy, protection. Access to a family that built an empire before you were even born. I held her gaze. No mention of love, how quaint. Ashton shifted uncomfortably but said nothing, typical. Just then, my phone buzzed in my clutch. A text from Jenna. We traced the leak. Gabriella called 2 more clients today, posing as an ethics investigator. I looked back at the table and smiled, cold, clean. You can keep your legacy, I said calmly, and your fake invitations. I don't buy seats at tables where respect is missing. Gabriella narrowed her eyes. You think you can walk away from this family and survive? No, I replied. I plan to soar. I turned, heels clicking against the marble like a gavel. Ashton stood halfway torn. Darcy, wait. I didn't. Because I was done waiting for men to grow spines and women to lower their daggers. The war had moved from whispers to fire, and I was finally ready to burn. Severing the Langley contract nearly gutted us. We lost 4 key clients in 2 weeks. Emails went unanswered. Calls dropped mid-sentence. It was clear. Gabriella had launched a scorched earth campaign to destroy me. But she underestimated one thing. I knew how to rebuild from rubble. With legal approval, I leaked the evidence, voicemails, emails, signed directives, proving Gabriella's interference. The story spread like wildfire. Industry media ran headlines. Langley Corp sabotages female CEO. Public sympathy turned into corporate outrage. And just like that, doors opened. 3 of our former clients returned within days, offering apologies. A government contract came through, 10 times the size of the one we'd lost. Morrison Dynamics didn't just survive, we dominated. One morning, Ashton showed up at my office unannounced. Same suit, same charming smile, but something hollow behind his eyes. I was wrong, he said. About everything, I should have stood by you. I leaned back in my chair, and now? He swallowed. I want another chance. No family, no dowry, just us. I reached into my drawer and handed him a velvet box. The ring? He asked. I nodded. Return it to the store, or give it to your mother. She seemed to value it more than you ever did. He didn't argue, just nodded, turned, and walked out of my life for good. I stood by the window after he left, watching the city breathe below me, steel, light, movement. Mine. As a result, Ashton's family, Langley Corporation, is now forced to purchase similar equipment at 3 times the price from my competitors, which is slowly crippling their financial position. I didn't just win. I reclaimed my name, my future, my dignity.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.